Vyrah reporting for duty. Another stream. Ooh, I'm gonna do some reacts. Let's. Oh my fucking god. Someday, I'll ask someone to fucking tell me how do you do an actual intro, because god fucking damn it, I still cannot fucking handle this. All right, let's just start right off. Right. Okay, how to make a CPU. Don't forget to like Robert Elder Software and sub. All right, let's check it out.
First, get a rock, then smash the rock. Now, you've got 98% concentrated silicon dioxide. Now purify it to 99.9% pure silicon dioxide. Purify it to 99.9999999% polysilicon metal. Put the polysilicon ingots into a crucible. Heat the silicon ingots to 1698 degrees Kelvin. Take a small seed monocrystal and dip it into the vat of molten silicon. Slowly pull the crystal out as it cools. Now, you've got a monocrystal of pure silicon. Next, cut the monocrystalline silicon ingot into thin slices. Now you've got pristine, freshly cut silicon wafers. Dope it with some boron or phosphorus. Put photoresist on the wafer. Take your chromium-etched photolithographic quartz mask and shine a laser beam through it onto the wafer. The shadows produced by the photomask will control the location of highly localized chemical reactions on the surface of the silicon wafer. Now develop the photoresist. Acid etch the exposed parts of the wafer. Wash away the leftover photoresist. Now do some homoepitaxy, heteroepitaxy, pseudoepitaxy, diffusion doping, copper interconnects, chemical mechanical polishing. Now you've got a finished silicon wafer. Cut your silicon wafer into pieces. Now you've got unpackaged silicon dies. Locate the pads on the silicon chip and attach bond wires, or use the flip chip method. The bond wires provide an electrical connection between the pins on the chip package and the pads on the silicon die. And that's how you make a C.
Well, that was actually really entertaining. So now, you know, instead of fucking crying for like the CPU shortage, or or the price of CPUs for like streaming or gaming on PC, just do what he told you and make your own, huh? Okay. Okay, what did the PS1 look so creepy by Extra Mint? Don't forget to leave a sub and leave a like to Extra Mint. He's an exceptional YouTuber, so yeah, let's check it out. Why did the PS1 look so creepy? I actually want to know.
This video is brought to you by War Thunder.
The PlayStation 1 should not have been scary. It was tiny, low resolution, and barely capable of facial expressions. And yet, in the late 90s, it produced some of the most disturbing games ever made. Silent Hill, Clock Tower. Despite their primitive graphics, their atmosphere was uniquely unsettling. In fact, it was so unsettling that hundreds of horror games have started returning to the aesthetic. We'll get into why that is soon, because all of those are still missing something that made these so terrifying. Plus, the visuals are only the beginning. The PS1 was home to the weirdest games of all time. It had an ad campaign that was just as effective as it was insane. To understand why any of this happened, you need to understand the company behind the console. Because in the 90s, the only thing stranger than this game was Sony. Just look at the ads they were making. I don't think I've ever seen a controller look so ominous. It stands out even more when you consider what companies like Nintendo were doing. While they did have their fair share of suggestive promos, characters like Mario acted as colourful, brand-friendly mascots. Mascots that Sony didn't have. Back then, most people knew them as the company behind the Walkman. They had no real history in the gaming industry, and to sell their console, they needed the attention of millions. Their solution—
This is an interesting fact that like Sony was the one that released the Walkman, and technically like before that I never knew that like they were just like let's say they were similar to Samsung, but I didn't knew that like their recognition was only the Walkman. This is actually fucking fascinating. I love it.
Was deliberately controversial and extremely successful. They called it more powerful than God, showed an arm with veins contorted into the face buttons. They didn't mention specs or coherent selling points because their only goal was to make the PlayStation seem unstoppable. On TV, their ads featured experiments, cryptic messages, and provocative narration.
Like to be humiliated by women.
Me?
Sony knew full well that they'd be polarizing. They even made a satirical ad mocking the console's critics.
Yes, friends, I'm talking about this. It may look like a harmless bagel toaster, but inside is a deadly donut.
This came at a point when gaming was still widely seen as corrupting and dangerous. By leaning into the moral panic, they positioned themselves as the rebellious, edgy alternative. And they couldn't have done it at a better time. The generation that grew up with simple platformers was now becoming teenagers and adults. There was suddenly an untapped market for darker and more serious games. And with their cryptic commercials, Sony made it clear that PlayStation was the place to be. After all, when you market a console like this, developers make games like this. In 1996, Capcom released Resident Evil, a survival horror game built for the PlayStation. Despite having several hits under their belt already, they had no idea how influential this game would become. Because this wasn't just another survival horror game. It was the first. Yes, there had been similar games in the past, but Resident Evil both named and introduced survival horror to millions of homes. It started a golden age of video game horror, and during this period we got some absolute bangers. Stuff like Parasite Eve and Hell Knight. I mean, this legendary run is the sole reason people still use these graphics, even though they're technically worse. But before we talk about how worse graphics somehow made
At this point we can say that like this is an art style rather than graphic, because like you can there are like some indie games that are like these days released, and these are like it's called PS1 graphic type of game. It became a design, it became another direction, it became like it became the fucking word that I said earlier. It became a different type of style of beauty within gaming. It's not considered. I think it's false to consider it as outdated now, since it's reused.
Even though they're technically worse. But before we talk about how worse graphics somehow made games scarier, let's talk about how everything else did. There's a couple things that many of these new titles are missing. Things that made PS1 horror completely unique. The first of these is the feeling of powerlessness. Few games leave you quite as vulnerable as Resident Evil. The camera angle is fixed and you're only given snapshots of your environment. This means you can only prepare for whatever's already in front of you. There'll be times when half of a room isn't visible until you move forwards and trigger the next angle. The result is a constant tension and urgency that's present even in the absence of enemies. Just compare it to Resident Evil 4, which uses a conventional third-person camera. It's still awkward, but you have a lot more time to spot and plan for upcoming encounters. With fixed angles though, you sacrifice this level of awareness for the feeling that every corner could be dangerous. The controller plays a big role too. It didn't have analog sticks until 1997, and games didn't actually need them until Ape Escape 2 years later. Before then, most titles gave you fairly limited control over movement, and Resident Evil was no exception. Every fight feels heavier and more intense. You need to be really purposeful about when and what you press. Now, I could talk about Resident Evil for hours, but less than 3 years after its release, the genre was redefined all over again. And this time, there were no green herbs and safe rooms. But before we get any stranger, here's a quick word from today's sponsor. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made, and is available now for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices. You're given the keys to over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 different major nations. Everything from the biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the fighter jets and main battle tanks of today. If you too love authentic sound effects, intense combat, detailed vehicles, and military history, you won't be disappointed. You ride at the helm of the most powerful war machines of our time. Personally, my favorite feature is the damage system. It's crazy realistic and interacts differently with every vehicle. There's even an X-ray view that shows you exactly where shells penetrate. And because it's on mobile, you can pretty much play anywhere. Join over 95 million players worldwide in epic PvP battles and discover a huge amount of high-quality content in War Thunder. To play for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile, click my links in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players on PC and consoles who haven't played in the last 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack, which includes premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. This offer is available for a limited time only, so be quick. Silent Hill took everything that worked here and pushed it even further. To this day, it's regarded by many as the scariest game on the PlayStation, and not just because of how it looks. Where Resident Evil made you feel powerless through its mechanics and controls, Silent Hill makes camera angles the least of your concerns. As a player, you have a lot less power over your environment. The game decides what you can see and when you can see it. A large part of this comes from the dense layer of fog that limits visibility to a few feet. It makes wide open spaces just as claustrophobic as Resident Evil's tight corridors. Importantly though, it lets you know that you're never truly safe. You can't simply clear a room and take a quick breather before moving on. As long as you're outside, it's impossible to confirm whether you're actually alone. And that's where the sound design comes in. Early in the game, you're given a portable radio that emits static whenever enemies are nearby. It doesn't tell you where they are or what direction they're coming from, just that something's out there waiting.
Okay. I didn't know that. This is actually a brilliant feature to add to a survival horror game. I actually never knew about this feature. Wow, this is especially for PS1 times. This is just clever and brilliant.
Sound becomes an essential part of the gameplay, often revealing far more than what you can see. It's also deeply unnerving. The game uses loud, abrasive sound effects, and quieter sections are almost always punctuated by distant mechanical whirring. The culmination of all of this is an unrelenting sense of dread that sticks with you for the entirety of the story. Still, you can at least defend yourself. In both Resident Evil and Silent Hill, you're given a range of firearms to help fend off enemies. This is not the case in Clock Tower, and there, you're truly helpless. The premise is pretty straightforward. You're in a mansion and are being hunted by a man
with a giant pair of scissors.
He's called Scissorman, likely because Scissorhands was already taken. Somehow though, the absurdity of your situation makes it even more disturbing. Seeing this guy dismember someone like he's cutting through paper feels so unnatural, especially with the stiff animations and character models. The mechanics are completely different too. Clock Tower is entirely point and click, and the majority of the gameplay is spent running and hiding. Any opportunity to fight back serves as nothing more than a brief deterrent. Consequently, movement isn't nearly as free as Silent Hill or Resident Evil. There's weight behind every click, because each one is a small, irreversible commitment. If you open the wrong door, you can't just cancel the animation and walk backwards. Now, while this does create a bit of a disconnect in that you're guiding the character instead of inhabiting them, it makes up for it by making every decision feel important, and the consequences of failure are never subtle. Fixed camera angles, limited movement, and janky controls are all hallmarks of this era, and
Oh wait, Clock Tower was a point and click on fucking PS1? Okay, I didn't got that.
Largely why these titles work so well. It's also why their atmosphere is still fundamentally different to new PSX horror games. Most of those can be played with a mouse and keyboard and have conventional controls that make navigation a breeze. Of course, precision and responsiveness are fantastic, and revisiting these today can be testing. It's just interesting that the things we consider unacceptable or clunky today were the very mechanics that made these games so haunting. Their tension is hard to replicate because it's literally baked into the hardware. With that being said, newer titles are getting something right, and luckily, it's the most unsettling ingredient of PS1 horror. After all, there's a reason they choose these graphics over realistic modern assets. Something about them is really creepy. The look itself is called PSX horror, and it's become an entire genre. With jagged edges, blocky textures, and low-resolution characters, the aesthetic is unmistakable. YouTube has hundreds of tutorials on how to replicate it, and Steam is full of the results. The question, of course, is why, and for me, it starts with the faces. In most games, the vacant 5-polygon stare is almost charming. Think of PS1 Hagrid, Spyro, or Lara Croft. The characters aren't exactly expressive, and most of their personality comes through in the gameplay. Oftentimes, they were made the exact same way, taking a digitized photo of a real person and slapping it onto a cube. While effective, it often led to characters looking uncanny. At the end of the day, you're grabbing a human face and stretching it over a stiff geometric
I won't say that it was uncanny though, like, but I understand where it's going.
object. They feel like animatronics or puppets, which is funny in a platformer and terrifying in a horror game. The best example is Parasite Eve 2. Off the bat, there's virtually no voice acting, and most characters are frozen with a single expression, giving the player more room to interpret their emotions. Although, when you realize what they're up against, their vacant stares start to make sense. Like the first game, Parasite Eve 2 is rooted in body horror. Enemies undergo hideous transformations, morphing into bizarre bioengineered abominations. There's fatties,
You know it's fucking bad if he has to censor a PS1 fucking anime cutscene. Like, oh my, how bad can it be if he has to fucking censor it?
Specs, stalkers, strangers, and then there's this scene.
Doggies!
Chasers are horrifying. Their faces are eerily human, but the low-res graphics make it impossible to tell where the human ends and the mutation begins. You're left with something that falls squarely into the uncanny valley. Again, this effect is largely thanks to the lack of detail. There's gaps that you can only feel with your imagination, and when something's looking at you like this, your mind will go to some interesting places. Anyway, PlayStation graphics didn't just affect people's faces, and if you've played any of these games, you'll know that all of their environments feel slightly off. Objects have crunchy, pixelated edges that shift and shimmer as you look around. This subtle flickering is constant. Nothing feels static, and it's almost like the world around you is breathing. Over time, and perhaps subconsciously, this builds on a general sense of unease. It also mirrors how we process reality. We tend to struggle with unstable environments and busy backgrounds. Another important factor here is lighting. Back then, survival horror titles weren't the only dark games. You'd find rooms that disappeared into shadows and seemingly endless corridors in practically every series. Just look at Tomb Raider. Anything that's not within 10 meters of you gets consumed by the abyss. At times, it's definitely a little creepy. You never really know what you're walking into, what enemies might be lurking at the far side of the room. And yet, the explanation is hardly sinister. All it's doing is hiding the draw distance. Without it, you'd see all of the distant objects popping into view. The fog in Silent Hill does the exact same thing, it just happens to be a really creative solution. To be honest, creative solutions explain most of the PSX aesthetic. All of the textures, lighting, and character models were designed around limited hardware. Games needed to look like this to actually run. And that all makes sense, but there's still one question that's bothering me. When I covered the PS2, I talked a lot about the tropical beach aesthetic because it really was everywhere. Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, Crash Bandicoot, they all have places you'd want to visit in real life. But when I started digging into the PS1, I found something completely different. Sure, it had its own iconic locations and settings, it's just that more often than not, they were downright weird. For starters, you spend most of your time in dark industrial corridors. These environments were in everything from Final Fantasy VII to Metal Gear Solid. If it was a lab, a base, or a city, 90% of the gameplay would look like this. Naturally, it was perfect for survival horror. They'd crank up the rust and decay to create these dystopian urban hellscapes. Combined with the graphics and low draw distance, many of these begin to feel quite liminal. There are doors that lead to nowhere, hallways that endlessly repeat the same texture. You journey through entire cities populated by nothing more than a handful of NPCs. It constantly reminds you that you're alone in locations that don't always make sense. At the same time though, you might have noticed that certain areas hold up surprisingly well. Games like Parasite Eve and Final Fantasy VII have ridiculously dense set pieces, achieving a level of detail that's still impressive. Like this interior.
Okay, not to be annoying or something. He called Final Fantasy VII Final Fantasy VII. Okay, I respect, because like this is the most like cool, not trying to prove anything way to fucking call Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, did you play Final Fantasy VII? Huh? No, because I did play the Final Fantasy VII. Like, what a style, what a fucking like a cool way to fucking call Final Fantasy VII.
Area was made almost 30 years ago, and every surface is packed with loose files, computers, and stationery. Going outside, you'll find more of the same. The streets are covered in graffiti and littered with rubbish. All of it makes the world appear lived in despite being sparsely populated. Turning to Final Fantasy, you encounter a lot more of the industrial aesthetic. There's these huge backdrops with layers of pipework and various machines. What you're seeing here are pre-rendered backgrounds. They're kind of a lost art and were another creative solution to the PS1's limitations. In reality, they're just 2D images. Environments this complex would have been impossible to render in real time. Of course, the majority of titles still went full 3D, and it wasn't like everything had this gritty mechanical tone. In fact, PlayStation's strangest title was the polar opposite. Dream Simulator is a treasure trove of liminal spaces. Developed by Japanese artist Osamu Sato, it meshes all of these graphical quirks with colourful and abstract environments. The end product is something beyond explanation. Events are loosely based on one of the developer's dream diaries. As a result, there's no real objective, and you can spend hours wandering aimlessly. You won't get bored though, because the dreamscape is filled with entities. Giant heads embedded in walls, the infamous Grey Man, and the Pot of Greed. These are mostly harmless though, and the main selling point here is exploration. There's areas to discover that look exactly like the backrooms, with the same dingy yellow walls and disorienting layout. It's hard to imagine a game like this would work at all with modern graphics. Half of its surreal nature comes from the fuzzy textures and distorted geometry, which make it just as indecipherable as an actual dream. Whatever the case, not everything about the PlayStation is an enigma. There's no ambiguity in 100 million sales, or the fact that it's still in the top 5 after 3 decades. It succeeded because it was different. The aesthetic.
What was the PlayStation 2, Switch, and PlayStation 4? Down.
For 3 decades. It succeeded because it was different. The aesthetic, the ads. It was a leap of faith into a new world of 3D gaming, and for all its rough edges, the system found its identity. It made survival horror huge, not despite its limitations, but because of them. And it wasn't all about horror either. Platformers like Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, and Rayman were revolutionary in their own right. It should come at no surprise that the PlayStation and its graphics are still massively influential. It has a legacy that's only matched by a few other consoles, one of which we're covering next. Again, shout out to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check out War Thunder now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile, and use my links in the pinned comment or video description to register. Those of you who are new or haven't played for 6 months will also receive a massive bonus pack across PC and console, including multiple premium.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Extrament, for the video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. He does a lot of content like this, so you'll be missing out if you like this one to not watch what else he do. Okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This looks sick if you are a big fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, if you're not, like, and if you're like me, well, good. But let's check it out. Paramount Game Studio. What the fuck? Okay. And the theme of Ninja Turtles. Okay, we didn't got like this is a teaser, so but like if the graphics looks absolutely dope, as they seem to be like really happy about the product. So if you're a Ninja Turtle fan, happy for you. I'm not a Ninja Turtle fan, and I barely have the time. But like, ta-da-dam. Hollow Knight Silk Soul. So a DLC for Silk Song. Let's check it out. Upgraded bosses? New interactions? Hey, Zurku. New mechanics? New secrets? Coming someday, check this script. Another 16 hours a day at work, fuck my life. Bro, like there's a teaser trailer for like quality of life fucking change for a game and they fucking wrote coming someday. Like, okay, so this is not a patch. Like, I thought it was like a DLC with new zones and stuff. This is a quality of life patch. You know what? Polishing a game, you know, good on them. Good on them if they find the passion to fix some quirks to make the game even better. If you never played Hollow Knight Silk Song, play it. It's really worth the time. Hollow Knight is really like unlike any other type of games. You have to like the genre, but if you like it, you're in for a treat. Again. This is a good news. I thought it was like DLC for like a new zone and stuff. So not as much as a good news as I thought. But you know what? Quality of life changes is good enough. I'm actually like, bro, like I'm actually coming back to the game. So when do you have time, Zuriku? Like I'll help you with. Hey, bro, I finally killed Mythic Plus first boss of Void Spire. Let's go! We have the new season 2 is in a month. I've killed the fucking first boss in Mythic. But like next season, I'll be there more. Like I'll be there more, and yeah. But yeah, no, I'll be so since I came back from like since I don't I finished my duties. Like, I mean, if you're there, I'm there, or both there. We can do stuff, you know. Do you still play your paladin, by the way? Like, are you still into your paladin vibe? Be right back. I need my. Congrats, man. I'll see if I can get more 10s done sometimes. Yeah, I still play Paladin. So, did he became main? Did he became main, like, for you? Like, but IRL stuff takes time. Yes, same. Like, thank God, like, yeah, pretty much. Oh, this is interesting. Because, like, well, I'll play tank, but like, if someday we find time, like, I wonder if like Beauty Heals is still there, because like technically, like, it kind of sucks, but like my biggest like raider slash like the people that I know the most in my fucking like guild, it's like you couldn't have like chosen anything but tank, because like tank I don't need it. I play prot and red, but mostly prot. Yeah. No, it's just because like Beauty Heals is also like a prot, and I'm just like, hey, man, like, can you not like have like this one role like that we need only two off, you know? But anyway, we'll figure it out. Like, it doesn't matter. Words you play red with me, I know. You should see the I should see any fucking like blood death knight fucking buffs. That will be great. Like, how the fuck am I at 283 and I fucking struggle at 14? Fable, Isabel, Hero of Wraith March trailer. Let's check it out.
Do I remember the moment my powers came in? Well, I was being crushed to death with seawater and mud and manure, whilst holding onto my sister's hand. I remember her fingers gripped so tightly in mine that her nails drew blood. Until I lost her grip. But she stayed away. Does stick in the memory a bit, yeah. I know why you're here. You want to talk about them. They're not real heroes.
You ever seen a legend in the flesh?
All that power, how do they use it? Killing mindless beasts. Fighting petty villains. None of that matters.
Look what the guild shut out.
A real hero knows how to wield power. They don't waste their time in trivialities.
You're back. And dressed like a twat.
Got more important things to worry about than vegetables.
A hero knows how to live with their choices.
Oi! What the fuck was that?
Well, I was just
sent my brother into the infinite fucking abyss without even asking permission.
Remorse? Remorse is for the guilty. Look, I will tell you what I told them. Albion is broken, and I'm going to mend it. Albion doesn't need heroes. It needs a hero.
You're a monster.
And that hero is me.
February 2027. This is cool. Fable, if you don't know, it's a game about role play. It's an RPG where your decision matters and progress the game differently. And basically, like, this is a character introduced in it. Really beautiful introduction. Like, this is really good stuff to add, because like, yeah, you just have to know that like within like Fable is a really franchise that doesn't need to an introduction. So the fact that like they actually go and do the extra effort to actually do more, show more of, and do more presentation, do more like teasing, it's a good sign that they are proud and happy of their product and that the game fucking rocks. So this is a good news overall. And the character Isabel, it looks interesting. It looks actually like more than just like the black and white that you see usually. So yes, Fable will be awesome. Okay. 1666 Amsterdam official gameplay feature video.
Hey everyone,
let's check this
Jean-François
out.
Boivin here, co-founder and executive producer at Panache Digital Games. Today,
so if you didn't know, Amsterdam 1666 is a game that is developed by the original creator of Assassin's Creed, the first one. And basically it was his passion project for a long time, and he got to actually he got to fucking release it and create the project. And this project is actually fascinating. It talks about black magic, it talks about witches, it talks about like it's different, and it has this Assassin's Creed vibe. So let's check it out.
hey everyone, Jean-François Boivin here, co-founder and executive producer at Panache Digital Games. Today we'll take a first look at the narrative world of 1666 Amsterdam, a third-person action-adventure game that we're currently developing. It all began with magic. In ancient times, the earliest human tribes would periodically gather in a sacred place. One of these tribes, the Zandaris, was entrusted with an ancient form of magic along with the duty to pass it on to those deemed worthy to bear it. Those who carried this energy became known as the Originals. But this gift came at a cost. The very magic meant to elevate humanity instead corrupted it.
Damn.
Those who received it were changed, and those who bestowed it had to learn how to take it back. Since then, a cycle has repeated itself. A woman from the Zandaris tribe is chosen to restore balance, to hunt those who still carry this power, to reclaim it, to preserve the balance, no matter the cost. This is the world in which 1666 Amsterdam takes place. Step into the role of Noah, heir to a long line of Zandaris, as she's about to become the Collector. She will not be alone. A choice must be made, one that will stand by her side throughout the journey. Together, they form the Union. Together, they must preserve the balance of the world.
Damn. This is good. This is good. This looks interesting. I don't know. Like, it's type of game where it's like either a fucking blast, or they didn't have the resources, or they didn't got time, or they missed the vision of what they wanted to do. But like it's really like on or off, but like it's a really cool one. I love the aesthetic, I love the theme. For once, it's really something never seen before, and the fights, for the little that we see, is actually like, it looks really entertaining to play and watch. So yeah, let's hope that like it's good. Monster Fantasy official reveal trailer. I look forward for Modern Warfare 4. Actually, if I have the time, I will love to get to have the time to fucking play it, because technically I really love the fact that like the really new North Korea. You fight North Korea. This is really fucking cool. Like, but yeah, like Modern Warfare 4, I don't have the time. I don't have the time with WoW, with everything. I just struggle with time. All right, so yeah, Monster Fantasy official reveal trailer. Let's check it out. Never heard of it. Oh wow, this is the type of aesthetics I actually dig it. This looks like Monster Hunter a little bit. Right, and your character is a chibi? Such majestic beasts, and your characters are chibi characters? Oh no! Oh no! I mean, it works for some people, but not chibi. Like, it's ultra realistic. There is nothing like... Look at the fucking look at what the dragon looks like. Wow, the capitals though. But like it's gonna be chibi. I mean, it kinda works, I guess. Okay, Monster Fantasy. For me, it's a big pass because, like, I think that, like, the chibi characters compared to the environment just doesn't work for me. Maybe it works for you. Like, my opinion is not absolute, and taste is something that everyone has different. Like, it's different for everyone. Okay, but at the same time, like, oh my fucking god, I cannot, because, like, the chibi part, like, look at this fucking, like, monster, right? This looks like Final Fantasy, right? How the fuck do you, why the fuck would you put a chibi character next to it? It just doesn't look like, to me, it doesn't look great. But maybe it's a great game, maybe, and maybe it's just me that has a problem with this type of graphics. So maybe it's an awesome game. I wish Monster Fantasy to be the best. All right. You're gonna play some WoW today, Zuriku? Like, I'm gonna play some keys after that. And I need to do my editing, and then I'll play some WoW. Maybe when I get home, depends on how tired I'll be. When do you finish? What's your time zone? For me, it's 5 right now. It's 5 here as well, but I've been at work since 1:30. Like, oh my fucking god, yeah, maybe level up, maybe keep the sleeping part, huh? Yeah, alright, yeah. Thank you for coming by, Zuriku. I'll see you another time, and as always, be toxic. I'll see you later.